Welcome to episode 191 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg. My co-host, Warren Sklar, is back. How you doing, Warren?
Has it been 2 weeks?
Well, I think so.
2 weeks, yeah. It's good. It's been a pretty crazy 2 weeks. Had a furry death in the family the week before.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So we're getting over that one, and started a new full-time job remote from home this week. So I'm actually downstairs with all my monitors set up. I'm ready to go. So good to be back.
All right, it's going to be some fun talking here. I want to welcome back to the show our guest, Mr. Josh Centers from Tidbits, the managing editor. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing great. How y'all doing?
Good. Glad you're here. We're going to have some fun talking about your new site here just a bit, and all kinds of other great stuff. Appreciate you being here. And, of course, Jeff Gamet's back on the show. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing great. And, Josh, since you're drinking out of a mason jar, please tell me it's moonshine, please.
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, have you guys seen the news lately?
No, we're trying not to watch.
This is why I love you, man.
you and Andrew order with your mason jars there. We got a ton to talk about this week. Josh just started up a brand new website, and we're gonna hit that on that in the topics here just a bit here. A lot of news, and of course, we're having a lot going on in the news lately with Ukraine and Russia. I won't get too political here, but we'll touch upon that a little bit. But let's just jump right in, get to the news here, and talk about what's going on. First story here, this was on Mac Rumors. Apple is ending mask mandates in many stores, planning to reintroduce in-person classes. Apple is no longer requiring customers to wear masks when visiting Apple stores in many locations across the United States. And Apple has dropped mask mandates following changes in the local guidelines because of the reduction in COVID-19 cases. So that's been happening all over the country here in the United States. It looks like so far there's states that are still having stricter guidelines would be Illinois, where I live, Oregon, Washington, and others. But we are going to be probably releasing that in Illinois here pretty soon here. What do you guys think? I think it's finally the biggest thing I'm excited about is they're going to reintroduce the in-person classes because I really missed going to an Apple store to be able to attend those. Don't you think, Josh?
Yeah, and I was a big isolation and mask guy and everything at first, and that was before we had vaccines and somewhat milder variants and all this. I mean, look, my family and I, we basically didn't leave our house for a year and a half. Okay, we were dedicated, but look, the time has come, and I know some people aren't happy about that, and there are still people getting sick, and that's horrible. And I hate it, but the reality is COVID is not going away. We tried to eradicate it, and it didn't work, and I don't see it happening. And so eventually life does have to move on, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure. Any thoughts, guys? Jeff?
I'm excited to see the in-person classes coming back because
me too.
There's just something about doing those classes but it's the personal part, and you're going to be able to get stuff answered and addressed in a way that you can't when you're doing it as a remote thing or just watching a video. As far as the mask part goes, I'm still a mask guy. And honestly, at this point, it's just probably never going to change for me. I have accepted I'm a masker for the rest of my life now. But I also have parents who are both immune compromised because of cancer. And so I will continue to do everything I can to make sure that I am doing my part to protect them. And Josh, you're right. COVID is not going away. And so we just, it looks like we're at the point now where we're just going to have to keep watching and seeing what happens with different variants. And eventually we will hit endemic status, which a lot of people think that means, hey, that's great, then it's all fine. No, that just means we've hit an equilibrium where we're just going to have to learn to live with whatever it is. Yeah. But I have to say, I have really nice looking masks.
It's important. You got to have a good look at ones. As long as they're not cloth, you can't use cloth.
All the cloth masks that everybody was selling for profit It's a shame because now they're just worthless. You can't use them. Yeah. Anyways, I've had COVID twice. I'm done. I don't feel like getting it again.
Yeah.
The first time I had it, it was bad in the hospital and all that good stuff, and I'm immunocompromised and all that good stuff. But I'm done with it. I'm actually more excited about maybe being able to go to an Apple store on a whim and be able to get in, because the last 2 times I've went to an Apple store, half the time I got in one time, and the second time they wouldn't let me in because of appointments and stuff like that. So that's annoying. And then even the first time when they let me in, they're like, no, you got to know what you want, and we're going to have somebody follow you around. And me, I just love browsing. I just love looking at the new stuff, playing with the Macs and all that good stuff. You can't do that. You couldn't do that. You couldn't just go in and browse. So Best Buy was doing that too for a while. I don't know if you guys did that too, but if you go to Best Buy, you get on the line and it'd be a salesperson escorting you around the store until you got out. And that's just too much pressure for one guy with a heavy wallet. So
you do have a heavy wallet.
Well, I mean, it's like it is. It's like it's hard to like decide to what you want, with somebody following you around and like that, it's also kind of high pressure, like as used car salesman. But yeah, it was uncomfortable. So yeah, I would love to know that next time I go to the mall, I could just pop into the local Apple store without problems.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on. The next 2 stories are, like I said, we don't do too many political stories too often here on In Touch with iOS, but I think it's important we at least talk about it for good reason. Exactly. Our friends at MacPaw, MacPaw makes a set app, and they have all kinds of great software we use on our Macs as well as on iOS. Is in the Ukraine, and that's where they're based. And we have a link to the show notes to the blog post. And the CEO and co-founder has gone through and talked about what it's affecting for the users. What's good that MacPaw is smart with is they have everything in AWS. They're in the Amazon Web Services, so all of their backbone is protected. They don't have to worry about anything. I don't think. Let's hope not. Their payment service Paddle is also based in the United Kingdom, so I think they'll be fine and they'll be safe. But our hearts go out to everybody that's the current situation in Ukraine. And Josh, I know you shared this article with us when we started the show. Why don't you give us some of your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I've met some of the folks at MacPaw back at the last Macworld iWorld all the way back in 2014. And at the time that they were having another issue with old Vlad, and I cracked a little joke. I was like, "Well, good luck getting home. I hope everyone's safe. Hope you all stay away from old Vladimir there." And they kind of looked at me like, But they're being incredibly brave right now. And in the first Apple buying advice newsletter I sent out today, I made a special point to tell people to support MacPaw and to consider SetApp for their Macs if they're not done so. I've had a subscription for years, and it's a lifesaver sometimes. You need some random app for some one-off purpose, and you go to SetApp, and usually they have something for you. And I hope they truly can keep that service running. I hope everyone at MacPaw is safe, and wish them the best. And hopefully. Hopefully cooler heads will prevail.
I think all of us here on this panel do. I'm a big SetApp user as well. I've been a subscriber for a number of years, and I'm sure I know Jeff is as well. And and not only the Mac apps, but their iOS apps are awesome too. And you can have a license for both, and which is really fun, really awesome that they're doing that. And I know there's a little slow with the expansion with iOS apps, but they're getting there. I got some good stuff. So, Jeff, you have thoughts?
I've been a SetApp user since it launched. And that's not going to change. And I've hung out with the MacPaw people at Macworld and at WWDC, and they're awesome, and I love all of them. And I hope that they're all going to be okay.
Me too. Any thoughts, Born, before we move on here?
No, just the Mac I used clean my Mac. Actually, I used to be a big one of those guys that said you don't need any utilities for your Mac, and it does everything on its own. You don't have to pay for any kind of utility that will do all the automated stuff on the Mac. It's not like Windows, but clean my Mac is solid. And even as a tech, I am an IT tech. I use it more than probably any other utility out there. Probably even for Windows at this point, because it just it's easy, it works. I've never really had big problems with it. So, yeah, best of luck for, with them. They make quality stuff.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we're definitely looking, hoping for the best. Next story here. Actually, this is an article that Josh wrote here, and I'll let you kind of run with this on your Substack, which is great. The Unprepared. This is how to prepare for a Russian invasion of Ukraine. If you wanted to just, take it away, tell us what you wrote on this.
Cyber attacks. Offer some tips on dealing with those. Very quick tips for what you can do as an individual, which unfortunately isn't a whole lot because this is like infrastructure IT level stuff. But there are some things you can do, like have some cash around in case the ATM stops working. Right, like in Ukraine and even in Russia today, a lot of bank websites have been taken offline due to DDoS attacks. I warned people, and this came out Monday. I warned people about higher fuel prices, and that's already a thing. Fuel jumped in my town from $3.20 to $3.60 almost overnight. And according to the guy from Gas Buddy, who I follow on Twitter, says $4 to $4.50 is very likely very soon. We may see higher food prices because Ukraine and Russia export a lot of the world's wheat and corn and fertilizer. And so, if that slows to a trickle, and we import quite a bit of fertilizer from Russia. So if we sanction them over that, that could affect crop production. And so, you want to have some food stored up. We might see some economic funkiness if Russia is banned from the SWIFT payment system. They may move to Bitcoin, and that may have a lot of strange effects when the world isn't as dependent on the dollar as it used to be. And of course, finally, the one that everyone seems really excited about is the remote possibility of thermonuclear war. And that's the thing that gets the most attention, which is, I just kind of threw it in there. And I threw in an affiliate link for there is a very inexpensive FDA approved over the counter medication you can have on hand in case of radiation exposure. It is called potassium iodide, not iodine, potassium iodide, chemical sign Ki. And you can get it from Amazon. It's very cheap. You can buy a box for $10. And, I threw in an affiliate link just for kicks and giggles. And I can tell you that there are people buying disturbing amounts of potassium iodide right now. And it wasn't like the post was like, go out and buy it now. It's like, if you're worried, you can buy some of this. It's cheap. It's FDA approved. As long as you're not, you follow the instructions and don't take it for kicks, it's safe. And just people are just scooping it up, which, tells you about the state of the zeitgeist right now. So that's kind of the overview. So, if you go to unpreparedlife.substack.com, I do have a custom domain, unprepared.life, and I'm still having technical problems with that between my registrar and Substack. Hopefully that'll be resolved soon. But you can check that out and see all my articles.
Great. And we got a link in the show notes to the article. So did you have any other comments, Jeff?
It's good to be prepared, and Josh is the guy to listen to.
Yes.
I didn't consider buying the radiation pills, but for the same reason that I'm not even going to make a Faraday cage for any of my electronic devices. And see, you're smart, but the reason I'm not doing that level of prep, like I'm not preparing for thermonuclear war, and that's because I live in the immediate death zone for thermonuclear war because of where I live in proximity to Denver, which will be one of the first places that's hit should Russia decide to bomb us. And unless by chance I am just not in the area that day, there's no level of Faraday cage or radiation pill that's going to help me.
You'll be what we call
Yeah.
one of the lucky ones. Now, I want to be very clear. I want to be very, very clear. I don't want you to get the wrong idea. It probably isn't going to happen. We lived under a Cold War where for 50 years or so, everyone thought we were going to get nuked every day.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen. Cooler heads prevailed. We've been here before. So don't run out panic in the street. Don't stay calm. I actually had a post out today called "Don't Panic." And just trying to reassure people. And I can't tell you it won't happen, and if you want to do some, some people live in bunkers. There was this special on CNN called Bunker Boom about this community of people out in the Midwest that they all live underground, and great for them. Doesn't seem like the life for me. And you don't have to do that, unless you're like Jeff and Jeff doesn't have to worry about it at all, right? Like either it happens or it doesn't happen. He won't even realize it happened probably. But if it's keeping you up at night, you can buy some $10 radiation pills and, get your little EMP trash can going. I talk about that in the post and, protect your MacBook or whatever. And, give yourself some peace of mind and then move on with life,
Absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and move back on to the iOS topics of the day. AT&T shuts down, I think, as many others, is shutting down their 3G service. So any iPhone from the 5S and back, you will lose your service. They announced this has actually happened on 2/22/22, which was a couple days ago since we recorded this. That means these older devices will no longer work after this date, and that includes the iPhone 5S and earlier models. And they got to make room for the 5G connectivity. It's time to move on. Jeff, you have any thoughts on this?
If you're still using an iPhone 5S, good on you. You just won't be able to make calls anymore. Nope. Over Wi-Fi, you can. I think that'll still work.
Yeah.
But,
maybe.
We all knew this was coming. AT&T has been, just like all the other carriers, telling us what frequencies they're shutting down or repurposing. And there you go. So if you haven't upgraded to something newer than an iPhone 5S at this point, okay, now you have some incentive to go pick up like you used iPhone 7.
Yeah, time to move on. What you think, Josh?
Well, and as it happens, I have a website that can help you buy a new iPhone. We'll talk about it.
Yes, we'll talk about that in just a minute. So, so it's important to just make sure to start updating. I mean, I'm talking to many friends, and I had a coworker that had this old flip phone. I said, dude, you got to get a new phone because it is going to stop working. And his first time ever has had a smartphone, of course, so it was Android because he had to go on the cheap. Yeah, it's time to move on.
It's surprising how many people will blame the maker of the phone for the problem that they're experiencing when it's actually just the carriers shutting down frequencies.
Pretty much. Jimmy, thoughts, Warren, on this before we move on here?
After listening to the possible Cold War, I think the shutting down the 3G phone is probably on the list of things that could happen. Is not the end of the world. So I think we'll be. I think they'll be okay with buying a new phone from Josh's advice column at this point.
Absolutely. Next story here. This is a 9to5Mac. Popular authenticator app for iOS facing copycats as App Store review complaints continue. Apple has removed authenticator copycat apps from the App Store, and another day, complaint about the App Store review process. Of course, this time the two-factor authentication app's Authenticator by TwoStable is facing copycats from multiple scammers. Not only the app is being copied, but scammers are being charged subscriptions of $335 a year. Oh my Lord. If you forget to cancel the weekly in-app purchases, raising questions about Apple's long, flawed App Store review process. And we go on and you talk about this, and the creator has talked about this as well. And this is absolute craziness. And you got to be careful with these apps and you just shouldn't be doing it. What do you think, Josh? This is crazy.
Yeah, this has been a big problem for a long time, and Apple is just failing to get it under control. And this hurts Apple in two ways. Well, it hurts all of us, right? But this really affects Apple in two ways. One, developers getting sick of it, just sick and tired of it. And two,
right.
If anything gets them regulated, it'll be this. And the reason is their whole argument, well, we have to regulate everything in the App Store and approve everything because we want to keep everything safe. And then, and Elizabeth Warren or whoever can say, okay, then why did all these fake apps come through? You approved them, Apple. So either you're endorsing the fake apps because you approve them, or you're absolutely incompetent at your job. And so, something has to give. I don't know what.
Yeah. Jeff, you thought?
This is why we can't have nice things. Yeah.
Yes.
If you need a quality authenticator app that's legit, just go download Authy and be done with it.
Yep. I know that you're a big Authy user. Warren, did you use authenticator apps? I assume?
I have 3 of them. I have Google, Microsoft, and another one.
Yeah, I've been using Microsoft. I have to use that for work, so and it's actually not bad. I like the fact when I go to sign in with my Microsoft account when I have to, it asks for the code, and then you go and your device has already been told that it's ready to do its thing. So it's really cool.
I have one that's just called Authenticator. I'm not sure who makes this one. But yeah,
and it only costs him $365 a year.
Exactly. Yeah.
I guess $1 a day.
I guess my point is, if Apple can't control who's coming in to scam, then people are going to, really push the side loading aspect of it, because that's their whole spiel is you trust our app store. So if people stop trusting it, then they're going to push harder on the open market app store.
Yeah. So, all right. Let's go ahead and move on with where our time's going here, and let's talk about beta this week, like we always do. If you don't know, you don't know Josh, but Warren lives on the edge every week and always updates every single one of his devices on beta, production devices, that is. And this week, beta 4 has been announced for iOS 15.4, and you notice any changes this week, Warren, with all your devices, your iPad and
I
iPhone?
haven't had time to really play with it, but the only one I really want to test out is the new voice that's in there. But I haven't played with it yet.
Yeah, that's the 2 new things that were announced this week. There's the new anti-stalking measures from the Find My network accessories.
Didn't come up for me when I updated, so I'm not sure. I think you have to go in there and it tells you something, right?
Yeah, and there's a fifth option for voice, like you said. It's with an American accent. So you have 2 American accents.
It's an American accent. Supposedly, I haven't heard it yet, but supposedly it's gender neutral. Is that what they're saying?
Well, that they're describing it as more gender neutral than not. It sounds like a woman's voice to me.
Does it? Okay.
And I think for some people, though, it'll actually be a really great choice, because I think the pitch of the voice and the way it's speaking, I think for some people it's going to be I think for some people there would be more clarity in the words.
Hi, I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like.
It sounds like a woman. I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Siri.
Yeah. I saw a thing on Daring Fireball about it, and I clicked through to listen to the voice, and the thing Gruber said was that it's like an optical illusion. You hear it one time and it sounds like a man. You hear it another time, it sounds like a woman. And so, yeah, it's interesting. It's not unpleasant to me. A lot of people are rolling their eyes at a gender neutral voice, but to me, when you have heavily accented Siri voices in some way, like it's very much a woman or very much a man or whatever, it's distracting. I want something that sounds more like a robot. Honestly, I want something that sounds like an appliance.
Choose the voice you'd like.
It doesn't need to sound like an appliance to me, but it doesn't need to have gender either. It's what I want is something that is clear, is easy to hear, and is easy to understand. And my guess is that as we play around with this more, we meaning humans, we'll find something that becomes like the perfect neutral voice. It's really easy to understand, and then people will freak out because it's too uncanny valley.
Some American friends I have use the British voices for some reason, and I think they're crazy because I can't really understand what they're saying either. So.
Because it's fun.
Yeah,
it is fun.
It is fun. So the other beta, Watch 8.5 fourth beta came out. I assume you'd see nothing in there, Warren, because of course you have that on your watch. And
go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I did look the AirTag stalking thing. I think in this one is if you have a rogue AirTag on you, the wording says more or less you have an AirTag, unless I think it used to be like you have something that may be on you, kind of something. You turn around, look at something. This is more specific. There's an AirTag on you somewhere.
Yeah, the anti-stalking changes they made. I got a link in the show notes for that as well in the Find My network. So yeah, very important. That was just a horrible thing that's been going on, but it looks like Apple's really responded to it nicely. So that's kind of telling me that 15.4 is going to have to come out sooner than later, because they're good at stalling this time of year for the next versions coming out. So it to me is going to have to come out sooner than later. Then lastly, and with having Josh here this week, of course, you're the author of Take Control Books, Apple TV, and this is the first time we talked about this a couple weeks ago when they first put this in the beta here for TV OS, is the captive networks and the Up Next feature. What do you think with that those two new features that were added?
Well, I'll be honest, I haven't followed it real closely, and I'm on betas very heavily during the summer. I'm doing my iOS book, and then the rest of the year, I kind of tuned them out until they hit Goldmaster. I'm going to tell you why. And I've been burned too many times. I'm sure Jeff knows what I'm talking about. You're like, oh man, this feature I'm going to write about. I'm exploring this feature. I know this feature, and then Goldmaster comes out. Where'd it go? Like, oh well, last minute So I just. It's not even there. I don't see it. Couldn't care less. Now, when Goldmaster hits, I install that, and that way I can test. I can write about for tidbits, and we can have day and date, good coverage of it. Now, I will say though, the captive network thing for the Apple TV is huge, and it's about darn time, because Roku's had this for years. And for people who don't know what we're talking about you go to a hotel or something, and the Wi-Fi is free, but and it's you have to have a password or anything, but you have to go through like a special login page, right? And some devices handle this really well, like laptops and laptops, I guess, iPads, and some don't, like those that don't have web browsers, like the Apple TV and the Roku devices, which are fantastic, by the way. Have had a feature like this for years, let you bypass those captive networks, and so you could watch. You could plug it in, and most hotel TVs have HDMI ports you can access now. And so, if you can get past that captive network, you can watch Netflix or whatever the kids watch these days, Disney Plus, Hulu, and your Apple TV stuff instead of watching cable. And so yeah, now that you can actually get past these things and actually use your Apple TV, and the Apple TV is an expensive device. Okay, I mean, we're talking like 180, something like that. They're too darn high anyway. This should have been added years ago, so I'm very excited about that.
Yeah,
hey Josh,
I agree.
I'm going to throw an idea out at you just to see what you think. Okay, so yes, the captive login has been way overdue. But if you're traveling with an Apple TV, you got this box. It's not that big, but it's like that, about that thick, and it takes up space in all your gear. Is this maybe a precursor to Apple coming up with a more portable Apple TV, like an Apple TV stick,
or just an iPhone, which you could plug in with HDMI and do exactly what I did last time I was on vacation to watch my Netflix and all that stuff, because I didn't bring any streaming box with me. But yeah, I mean, What's different now? You get instead of getting that, you just get a Lightning to HDMI, plug it in. Netflix.
Yeah, but the problem is though you can't play on your phone while you're watching TV. That's the key thing there. You gotta have the two screens now. That's the way we roll in the 2020s.
I think I have my iPad with me, my mini. That's what I use. But yeah, same concept. Yep.
The thing I'm baffled by Apple's Apple TV hardware strategy. We kept hearing a stick was coming, a smaller one was coming, and we got the refresh, a much better remote, But yeah, no stick. I'm surprised by that, and I sometimes wonder if Apple even is going to keep the TV around. I guess they are. They updated it, right? But I even tell people on the front page of Apple buying advice, like, you could buy the Apple TV 4K, or you could buy a Roku stick for like $30, and you get Apple TV, you get all that stuff. Glenn Fleischman reviewed one of their new sticks for Tidbits recently, and he was just raving about it. And we have a cheap TCL from Walmart that included the Roku software. Sadly, I don't think TCL. I think they put the Google software now, which is slow. It's terrible. But the Roku software is fantastic. I mean, yeah, it phones home every 2 seconds, and you have to use Pi-hole or something to block it. But in terms of ease of use and the apps available, and even now the Apple TV integration, my TCL TV, and it did not ship with this feature. This feature came 2 or 3 years after I bought it. Now it does HomeKit. Now it does accesses all my Apple TV content. It you can AirPlay to it, and that's all stuff they added on after the fact. So I mean, big fan of Roku. Sorry, went on a rant there.
No. I wanted to get your ideas on Apple TV because we don't get too much coverage.
So, Josh, I have a hypothesis on why Apple really can't stop making Apple TV.
Okay.
And I think it's part of their game subscription strategy. So if you get rid of the Apple TV device, then you lose that as a platform for gaming subscriptions.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there. Well, see, years ago when people were wondering, even then, why Apple kept around, I said, it's not going away because that's the only way you get iTunes movies. It was iTunes at the time. That's the only way you get iTunes movies on your TV easily. So it was never going to go away. And these days, yeah, that's less true. But yeah, you do have the gaming angle. Although I don't know. I'd be curious about the stats on how many people play video games on their Apple TV. My guess would be less than 1,000. Honestly, I would love to see their own internal stats. I mean, they might keep it as an ecosystem play, right? If nothing else, they can advertise it to users and developers. See, this game, you can play it on your iPhone, you can play it on your Mac, you can play it on your TV, even though nobody would, because then you have to buy a controller. And honestly, by the time you buy Apple TV and a controller, why didn't you just buy an Xbox Series S and have a much better game console all around?
Yeah. Yep. I also think if Apple stops making the Apple TV, the message it sends, it's bad optics. It's like, well, we're not really committed to the whole television thing, even though we have our own network and we've bought land for our own studios. I think they kind of have to keep the Apple TV box around just as a symbol to show their commitment to television.
Absolutely.
Whether they want to or not.
Whether they want to or not. Yep. They're kind of married to it.
That's right. All right, let's move on to the topics here. And the next topic I wanted to talk about is your exciting new website, Josh, that you just created, Apple Buying Advice. And what really caught my eye was first, oh my God, this is amazing, because I'm sure that all four of us have always had take time to have to suggest and give buying advice to family members, to friends, to others about buying an Apple product. And since all of us love our Apple products, why not have a site like this? And I haven't seen really anything like this until you started this up. First off, let's kind of just give us a background. What really sparked you to create this website?
Well, the thing that sparked me was just what you said. People are constantly asking me, And there's a lot of people in my social circle who think I work for Apple. They've misinterpreted somehow, but I'm constantly being asked, "Hey, is this the right time to buy the iPhone? Hey, which iPhone should I get? Hey, oh yeah, Mac." Literally, it's people I'm close to, it's people I'm distant from, it's people I haven't seen in 20 years. Mm-hmm. Well, I graduated high school in 2001.
Hey,
and I
can you know about that? Can you help me?
Yes. I will get messages from people asking which friggin' iPhone to buy. I'm like, I haven't seen you since before 9/11. Okay, hello, how are you? Did you have any kids? I mean, how's your life? Like I'm some sort of technology pinata. But anyway, I do like helping people. I really do, and that's why I created this site, because I just. Not that I don't like helping people, but I just got tired of saying the same stuff over and over again. And so it just popped in my head. I just started building it. I just got a hosting account. I just put WordPress on. I found this nice theme, Generate Press, and I just built the darn thing. And
it looks great.
And actually, the single thing that inspired me, I did a presentation for InMug, and one of the things they requested I do for them, a great group, by the way. For their class, the one thing they requested for their class is they wanted my personal opinions on iPads. So I was like, okay, yeah. And mine are a little unorthodox. And so I gave those recommendations. People really liked them. I started thinking, this could be a thing. And what's funny is when I was building the site, I was in the middle of writing one of the articles, and my father-in-law calls me. I'm not making this up. My father-in-law calls me and asks, "Is now a good time to buy an iPhone SE?" I'm like, I got something here. I think this is gold, Jerry. So I went with it, and then I showed it to Adam Inkst, the publisher of Tidbits, who is my boss in my day job, and I was kind of, what's he gonna think about this? And he's like, this looks great. I was like, what?
Hey. Stamp of approval from Adam Inkst. You can always take that.
Yeah, I mean that's a big deal. He is a man of incredibly high standards, and so so we publicized it a bit, and I went. And this is also a chance for me to learn about some technologies I haven't really played with. Like I've done WordPress. I've set WordPress from scratch, but I've never done like a MailChimp. I never had a mailing list. So I set.
But you're going to have fun with that.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying that like, you're about to get screwed, but no, like I think you'll end up having a lot of fun with the mailing list part.
Yeah, well, I actually have two mailing lists. I got one for Apple Buying Advice, and I got the Substack too. So that's
yeah, you're keeping yourself busy,
very busy.
But let's kind of go through some of the products that you've recommended.
Sure.
And I think all of us will kind of agree what you do. Sure. We're going to focus on iPhone, iPad, and then we'll Apple Watch, and we may touch on AirPods real quick. But iPhone, obviously the most popular device out there that Apple makes. You got the iPhone 13. I upgrade every year. Warren upgrades every year. Jeff sometimes upgrades every year.
It depends on my mood.
And Josh. It depends on your mood, and I know, Josh, you probably upgrade fairly. I mean, you have to do it for your beta testing and such, but you may not upgrade. Depends on what you want to do. But I guess let's go to the first question. You're always getting people ask, "Oh, should I buy the iPhone SE?" And I would do a flat out no, in my opinion, because we the rumor has it that there's going to be a March 8th event coming here as we record this, and is Apple going to release the latest, greatest version of the SE, which will have 5G support? So probably best to wait, I would think. What's your thoughts on the SE?
Yeah, well, so on the SE, I wouldn't recommend it right now. It's just a year ago, I recommended one for my father-in-law, and that was an easy pick at the time. He had an iPhone 6 or something. It was ancient
so that'd be
that point.
A huge improvement for him.
Oh yeah, he's blown away by the thing. I mean, it's like a spaceship to him. Yeah. But now look, when this new SE comes out, if it's as much of a gem as the second generation was at launch, that will be the top pick. I'll tell you right now. Especially the beauty of the SE, and this is one of the things I convinced my father-in-law on this. I'm so glad I did. For $50, you double the storage. I think the base was it 64, and then like $50 you get 128. And this is the top problem I have helping iPhone and iPad users is they get the base model, not enough storage. So I'm so glad on the iPhone 13. And this didn't click until I started building this site. But yeah, the base storage is 128 gigabytes. That is huge, at least until that's not enough space. But like, I mean, that's huge. Like I can just tell people, just get the basic iPhone. Just get the basic iPhone 13. That's all you need. You know, some people, now I want to be clear. My recommendations are for 90% of people, probably even not, maybe 99% of people. You know, a lot of people say, well, I like the Pro. Okay, great, get the Pro. But, you know, this is for people who they don't know what they want. And so I'm going to recommend here's the least expensive thing that will do a good job that I think will work well for you.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. The SE is a good entry level phone, and I would recommend it to anybody who just wants a basic iPhone. And if anything, I try to talk them into, hey, you got an Android, hey, I can get you off that Android and come on over to iPhone, and you don't have to spend a big dollar amount on that. So the iPhone 13. I agree with you. You've got it on your site here. The iPhone 13 is a good base model. I recommend that for my wife. She just upgraded from the 11 Pro, and she never used any of the Pro things on it. So I said, you know, let's go with that model. And she got the 128, which is the base space now. I mean, think about what the iPhone was. It was 16 gigs at one point years ago, and we were like strapping for space here. But I agree with you on that suggestion for the 13.
I think it's a solid recommendation. Yep.
Yeah. So, and you got cases. I mean, we could go on forever. You recommend the out of box cases. That's a great case.
Really good case.
I appreciate that from you, gentlemen. I've had a lot of pushback from Tidbits readers because they're like, "Oh, I like this case."
Really?
Everyone likes what they want.
It's a personal choice, but you know, for the typical person who's like, "I don't know what to get. I just don't want to break my phone." Okay, this right here. Okay, I just dropped it. It's fine. I have toddlers, okay? I cannot play games with my phone, okay? I have a 3-year-old son who will pick this up and throw it like a football, okay? Like the dude from Napoleon Dynamite, okay? He'll throw it over the mountains. And I can't play. And you know, it's not that bulky once you get used to it. But the great thing is the grip. It grips so well. And this is actually an iPhone 11 Pro. And part of the reason I've been able to keep this phone for so long, I got to have the telephoto lens. But, you know, the reason I've been able to keep it for so long is because it's in this thing. Okay. So, and the older ones, they had this horrible screen protector. And that's, if you get the SE, the one for the SE has that horrible screen protector that I guess you have to cut out if you don't want it. And it makes the screen hard to use. This one does not have that. You just get that plain, beautiful, bare Apple glass. And so, yeah, you know, so that's my pick. And again, you know, Apple buying advice, they're my picks, and you know, either you take it or you don't.
Absolutely. Warren, what do you generally recommend when anybody asks you? Because I'm sure you get lots of family and friends ask you about specific iPhones.
I mean, I like you. I like the latest and biggest, so I try to recommend those as far as iPhones go. But what they could afford. My family, like everybody's parents are probably the same. Like my mother wants a decent phone, and my father could care less and could barely use the phone he has. And I got to kind of, work through him with that kind of stuff. But I got them both on iPhones, and most of my family is. So, and when people ask me, me, I'm just going to recommend anything that's newer and fits their needs. And I did look at the site, and unfortunately, it's going to be bad for me because I'm going to want to buy things more. And that's
well done, Josh.
We all do.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
And he made it look,
you've succeeded, Josh.
So pretty too with with the red phones. Is that what I saw? A whole bunch of red stuff going on there.
Yeah, so, that's all the product red stuff Apple released earlier. Yeah, I thought it went well with everything.
Yeah, look, I mean, how can I just not, want to buy something now with that? So.
Reach out and touch it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I guess you'll be, busy when, when March comes around. Hopefully, we're going to hear stuff and figure out what to get next.
Yeah, I'll be busy updating the site.
I'm sure. Yep.
Yeah. You're gonna have a blast here. Real quick, we'll go through a few more things here. The iPad, I agree with you. If anybody wants an entry level iPad, the I believe it's the 8th gen, 9th gen, iPad. I think it's 9th gen with 256. That's a must with iPads with Wi-Fi. I think that's great. And that Logitech combo touch case is great. I mean, I still have the Apple keyboard, which I spent probably a little too much on it. But actually I got it for less because I had a gift card, so it was only $199, so it was okay. But and then you got to have the Apple Pencil. A lot of people are just so resistant to getting the Apple Pencil. Cool thing is it does support. I think though these 9th gen is the first gen Apple Pencil.
It's the first, yeah.
So unfortunately, you got to plug that sucker into the bottom of the iPad to record it.
To record it.
Charge it. I mean, record it. Charge it.
Never used it, so I don't know what I'm missing. But go ahead.
Yeah. And then we were talking about AirPods. This surprises me that you say this. Did you like the Beats Fit Pro earbuds? So why do you like those?
Well, so here's the interesting thing. So right now I got the AirPods 3. This is what I bought around the time, and then not long after that. So I don't really follow Beats all that closely, and Apple doesn't publicize it too much on their end. And then our friend Tidbits Julio Ojeda Zapata, he reviewed the Beats Fit Pro, and I was editing the article, and I was drafting my review of the AirPods 3. And I was like, well, I said a cuss word, and I said, well, I should have bought these, right? So, there's nothing wrong with the 3rd gen AirPods. I think they're great. But, and then, while I was doing some research editing his article, I looked at all these reviews, and almost every single one of them was like, yeah, this is what you get. This is what you get. Right. So this is one of those rare cases where like, this isn't what I use, but if I could rewind the clock, I would have bought those instead, because almost everyone who knows their stuff thinks they are superior, because what you do, they're a little bit more expensive than the 3rd gen AirPods, but they have all the nice features of the AirPods Pro, but for much less money. So that's the trade-off you're making. Yeah. And so that's what I would go with. I don't think you can go wrong with any of them.
That is very interesting.
I've never considered the Beats, because every time I listened with Beats in the past, their audio profile is way too bass heavy for me. And but if that's what you want, great. Here's Beats. They've got you covered. And so I never even considered looking at something like the Beats Fit Pro, simply because of my previous experience. So now I want to hear them and see how they actually sound.
Yeah, I am not a Beats fan either. It's not even that they're bassy; it's that they're kind of muffled, right? Like it's that the bass is overdriven. But the main thing with Beats,
and it gets all muddy. Yep.
It's very muddy. That's the term. I'm not a headphone guy. The worst thing about the Beats, though, and me and Mark or Armit both have this problem. We both have big heads, and Beats are just the over-ear headphones are. It's like a vice grip on my skull. Like I got a free pair of the Solo 3. I think one time when I bought one of my computers, it was like a back to school special, and I borrowed my wife's teacher ID. And I got them, and I couldn't wear them. Like I was like, I tried to stretch them out. There's all these techniques for that. Yeah, it was not happening. I felt like I had a C clamp on my head. It was awful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good stuff. And you've got amazing guides for every one of these categories we've talked about so far. I'll wrap it up here with the Apple Watch. And yeah, I have not been I've not been the one to upgrade to Apple Watch every year, but the last two I have. So I had this, I had the Series 6, and I decided to trade it in and go with the Series 7. And I don't regret it. It's an amazing watch. And I agree with you on this one. I think the 7 is worth the bang for the buck. Mm-hmm. You've got the lower end one like the SE, and I still can't believe they still sell the Series 3, but they do.
It's insane. Yeah.
But I agree with you. Do you have a Series 7 that you personally use?
I actually have a Series 4 I've been rocking for a few years.
Okay, I had that one.
But this is a case of, if I were going to replace it today, that's what I would buy. I would buy the Apple Watch Series 7 GPS. Now that's been a little controversial. Some tidbits readers have said, "Oh, you got to have the cellular option." So I may throw up the cellular option, but
no, I don't think you need the cellular option.
I'm always carrying my iPhone with me. Why do I need it?
Well, see, what's been explained to me is that we are privileged men who always have a phone in our pockets. And a lot of women don't have pockets for some reason. My wife has pockets. So, I mean, maybe there's something valid there. But I have horrible cell service. I live in the sticks. So that does skew my perceptions too. So but see that people, see the problem is if you ask people what they want, they tell you a faster horse. Right. And so, it's why I haven't done it yet. I'm considering, because they made some good points. Like, for instance, if you're an elderly person and you don't tend to carry a phone, you want the fall protection. But see, if you read the Apple Watch guide, I talk about, I do have a recommendation for that, because we have the family setup where, if you have let's be honest, this is made for relatives who, you want to monitor their health, but they don't want a phone. So you set it up with your phone. The catch is a bunch of features get disabled, like the ECG and some other things. And let's see, what's it? Oh, it has to be a cellular watch. So for those people that you want to monitor with the family setup, you want to make sure, when they fall down, that you can be there to help them, or if they have something go wrong with their heart, then I recommend the Apple Watch SE cellular, GPS plus cellular, for that exact reason, because it is almost tailor-made for family setup, because it's missing those features family set doesn't support, and it has, the required cellular.
And that makes sense.
Right. So yeah, I have no reason, even if I were to have the one with the cellular, I wouldn't even activate it. I think it's not necessary. It's just best to do that. So, but no, thanks for. I wanted to go through the whole guide of your new site, and this is an amazing site, and we definitely have a link in the show notes. You definitely should go visit this site, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with next with all the more exciting stuff. Go out to his site and subscribe to his newsletter. Get on his mailing list. I got to do that myself here. I completely forgot to do that, and that you'll be keeping everybody up to date. MailChimp is your friend. I've used MailChimp many times, so you'll be happy that it's going to be very easy to manage your newsletters. So, but check it out, applebuyingadvice.com. And Josh, you did a great job here with the site. So let's move to a couple more topics before we wrap things up here this week. The next topic was going to be about is the iPod Touch still relevant? I caught your article here in Tidbits, and I've been kind of wondering this myself, so I kind of wanted to have a bit of a discussion here. It's over 1,000 days old. I thought it was 2,000, but they haven't touched this thing in 3 years, 4 years almost now. A10 chip, 256 gigabyte, very expensive at $200. I mean, I think the 256 is probably what $300, is it? Or I can't remember what they're charging for it. It's been so long since I've looked at it. And I doubt it's going to be upgradable after iOS 15 to 16, like you said. But it's a short, sweet article, but I'd like to open up the panel. I mean, Josh, what do you think? Do you think the iPod Touch is still relevant, or is it just going to go disappear with the iPod?
Yeah. Honestly, no, I don't think it's relevant. I mentioned in the article that it's popular with kids, and the only ones I've seen in the wild in years are young children. But even then, I don't see a lot of them with us now. Usually the parents, if they give them that, something like that, it's an iPad, right? And so I'm not quite sure why Apple keeps it around. I mean, they know more than I do. My guess is just enough sales to be annoying, but they can't, they don't know. It's not gangbusters. It's not worth updating often, but they can't quite justify dropping it.
Josh, you nailed it. Apple keeps older products like this around that aren't getting updates because people still buy them in a large enough volume. And so if people weren't still buying the iPod Touch, well, it wouldn't even be on their website at all. I mean, as it stands, I don't think they're even on display in the stores anymore. You go in and ask, and they go in back and get one for you.
Do you think people were buying more HomePods than iPod Touches because they scrapped that.
HomePod Minis,
No,
maybe.
the original HomePod. So they scrapped that. So the theory is if some people are still buying, enough people, they don't scrap it. So the question is, did more people buy iPod Touches than they did the original HomePods?
Well, okay, so you have two different things going on here.
Mm-hmm.
With the iPod Touch, you have a product that has been static for years. The actual cost to produce an iPod Touch from Apple's standpoint now is negligible. The cost to produce a HomePod, however, was still pretty high, and comparatively. And so, my guess is that Apple looked at what they had with sales for HomePod, and even though they were selling them, they felt that since they were switching or bringing out the HomePod Mini, that the resources for the new product line were better spent focusing on the Mini as opposed to the HomePod, which just wasn't taking off the way they wanted. So transfer that money over to the Minis. But for iPod Touch, I mean, there's no extra costs that are going along with that. They've recouped all their money from designing the iPod Touch years ago, and it's just a thing that they can keep making for pretty cheap.
Well, I thought the same thing about the iPad Mini for a while until they refreshed it, and people got excited about it again, and people started buying more of them. And it makes you wonder if they released an iPod Touch with the bezel-less touch ID on the side, like the Air and the Mini, would that re-excite people to do it? I know
I'd be very excited.
I'd be excited for that too.
Yeah, I would too.
Then you start asking yourself as an adult, what's the difference between my iPhone, that we have, and something like that, other than it's better for a second device, right? Or better for a kid, like Josh was saying, because that's the last time I've seen one too, is on a child. So, I mean, again, the iPod Mini was close. We could have said the same thing about it before the refresh as we are about to touch.
Yeah, and I was certain the iPad Mini was a dead product.
Right.
And then they surprised us.
So you never know. Maybe next year they'll come out with an iPod Touch that looks like a small Mini.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
They could surprise us. So, one last topic I want to touch on before we wrap things up here is this was an interesting article that, and this has been going around here. Many older and obsolete Apple products are fetching thousands of dollars. You might want to check your attic and see if you've got any of these products. And this was on iDrop News here. But a couple things they're saying here. Like first off, the iPhone, the first generation iPhone, which is basically a useless iPhone at this point. It won't work on any cellular network. But they were saying some people were fetching one that was brand new in the box on eBay for like $25,000.
Wow!
And, I mean, who in their right mind would pay that? I mean, I think it's crazy. I see that this is out there. The second one, which I'm not surprised, is the first generation iPod. The iPod, I don't know about you guys, is near and dear to my heart. I think that was my very first jump into the music players. And I owned this model, and I thought it was just a pretty awesome here. But yeah, they're saying iPads are going for some big money too. These first gen, which is on FireWire, if you remember correctly, and it's a bit of a challenge to get it to work if you got to find a Mac or to convert that to FireWire, and even if it would even read at this point, especially on our latest OS is on Mac. So
if you can cram together enough adapters to get from FireWire 1 into USB-C, it will plug in and it will mount and it will work. It is just crazy, but yeah, it'll work.
But I check on eBay too. They're they're the second and third gen iPods. Even they're showing here the iPod Shuffle. I have one of these. I still have the one that was like a piece of Trident gum, the iPod Shuffle. This was I think a third generation, and someone was selling it for $1,000.
I got nothing left, and I could only blame my wife for this.
Yeah.
Based on this, I have a box in the closet behind me that has several $1,000s worth of iPods in it.
Yeah.
I I've got a couple 20 gig iPods.
My wife said, "Garrett,
20
it's that box for me."
gigabyte
so
iPods.
One day she said that has to go, and I guess I just sold it all, as I went. So yeah, it's
You have any memories of these, just Josh, of some of these iPods that you've had?
I just had one. I had an iPod Photo. I think that was the 4th generation, and I had a mixed relationship with it. I'll be honest. It had the touch wheel. I hated it. I loved that click wheel.
Oh, I agree.
In that 1st gen iPod, and I so wish they'd kept it. It was so superior in just about every way. But I did have a lot of fun with it. And I got to be one of the cool kids in the iPod. And I do have fond memories of mine. Boy, they scratched up like nothing else. All that shiny chrome on the back. You just like breathe on it and be all scratched up, right?
Yeah, and I mean even the iPod Classic, the 160 gig, which was the last of the models that are out there, still fetching some pretty big money. I ended up selling mine a while ago and probably should have kept it because I probably sold it for a lot less than it's worth now.
A lot of people are taking these and heavily modifying them. They'll replace,
I saw that.
Of course, the battery, but then they'll replace the little drive with like an SSD and all kinds of stuff. So apparently,
replace one once. I had a customer that wanted to recover music off one of them, and I had to take it off. And I went to Amazon to figure out it had it's a special name drive. ZIF, was it a ZIF? It had a name for it.
That sounds right.
So I actually had this was when they were still kind of relevant. I had to find on Amazon or eBay a ZIF cradle, so I could plug this thing in to get the things off it. So I mean, I remember my last one too. I was trying to hang on to it. I actually even bought one of the early aux to USB, like the one from who makes it, the flight one. There's a major
like the thing that 12 South makes.
That's it. Yeah. Like an early version of that. So because people were starting to introduce Bluetooth headphones, and I'm like, well, there's no Bluetooth on this thing. So I had them all. I think I had a couple of minis. I had the Shuffle like you. I had the Photo.
I have to. We all have. We're crazy. We're
What's
crazy
the one
for
that
Apple.
Turned into watches? Is that the mini?
That was the Nano.
That was the Nano. That was the Nano. Yeah, and you had bought those special bands.
I think people still do that. Box has the Nano with one of those bands on it.
Yeah, I think I tried that too. Yeah. That was years old. Yeah, fun stuff.
So, anyway, I thought that'd be a great topic to wrap things up. Is we had a lot of fun talking today, and that was good to kind of reminisce about the iPod. So I gotta make sure I say iPod, not iPad. But thanks everybody for listening. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up for this week. Please, that's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. Support the show. Buy me a coffee. You can buy me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We'd really appreciate the support. And make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we are live streaming, as well as when we post a new show. That's at our YouTube channel, which is at youtube.com/DaveG65. And you can also visit In Touch with iOS magazine, which is on Flipboard, where many of the articles that we talk about during the show will end up on there, and you can go take a look at those later. It's a great place to flip through some of the great information that's out there about Apple, specifically to that magazine. You can subscribe to the show, of course, in your favorite podcatcher, which includes Apple Podcasts and many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter at DaveG65. And Josh Centers, thank you so much for being here. It was such a blast. I can't continue. Hopefully you have a great, successful time with this new site. And tell everybody where they can find you.
Oh, yeah. Well, my main things are applebuyingadvice.com. And also, if you're interested in preparing for wherever the heck's going on with Russia, you can go to unpreparedlife.substack.com. Hopefully, I'll have a much shorter URL soon once the DNS propagates. But until then, unpreparedlife.substack.com and applebuyingadvice.com.
Excellent. Thanks again, Josh. And Jeff Gamet, as always, thrilled to have you here. Let everybody know where they can find you.
As always, it's great to be here. So thank you for having me yet again. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, jgamet on both. YouTube.com/jgamet for my videos. Thursdays on The Big Show, Fridays on The Mac Show. Most Tuesdays on Mac Voices Live. And Brian Chaffin and I have teamed up again. And Apple Context Machine is now our own thing called The Context Machine. And the second episode came out today or yesterday.
Was it today? I was listening to the first episode and I was cracking up.
Great.
So.
Awesome. So yeah, Context Machine or The Context Machine. And we're in the process of migrating everything out from the Mac Observer site. So right now, if you go to macobserver.com/ACM, you'll still see everything. And soon it'll just be contextmachine.io and all the past Apple Context Machine shows, plus the new shows that we're doing. It'll all be there.
Excellent. Thanks, Jeff. And Warren Sklar, thanks so much for being here as well. Where can people find you?
Good to be back. As I usually say, don't worry about me. It's always good to see Jeff, and really nice meeting you, Josh. That was really cool. Great info. My head's spinning. I think I need to definitely buy something. Maybe go on eBay and buy back one of my iPods that I missed now. Anyhow, Back to the Future Facebook group is still hopping. A lot of people just asking questions, talking Apple stuff. No politics, no stupid things, no meanies. It's all good. So come join us there if you want.
Great.
Thanks.
That's awesome. And thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show this week, and we'll talk again soon.